absolutely ridiculous. They'll believe anything. They'll believe anything. Maybe.
Right, so we're back today. We're still joined by Steve. As you can see, Steve is over there, and he is extremely safe. No viruses are going to get him. No reporters, paparazzi, nothing, right?
Yeah, like a victim.
Like a victim, correct. And Abby, are you ready for your vaccine?
Oh, I need double shots.
Right, so yeah, obviously we're playing around a little bit, so I'm going to take this off.
Immediately.
I think we should take it off, right?
Should I?
I think you should, Steve. Yeah. So, I mean, we're trying to keep this thing lighthearted. And it's kind of the advice I was giving myself before we started today, was to just try to not get too upset, because last week I swore all the time. And I found that every time I discuss this with people, like, I'm really getting upset. So for our last segment today, we're going to talk about something a bit serious and see what we can do. So last week, Abby and I discussed the Taiwanese situation with the vaccine deaths versus the virus deaths. And the reason we decided to talk about this again was because, let's try and figure this out. So last week, we said there were 883 deaths from the vaccine.
It's just more than the deaths of COVID-19, a little bit.
Yeah, I think 846 deaths from the virus and 883 deaths from the vaccine. And then something happened this week, because I checked the numbers again. So last week it was 883. Now, to put this into perspective, the 883 deaths came from May to October 16th. Because that's when May was when we started doing the vaccines, and that went through to October 16th, right? And then yesterday I checked. So it was 6 days after we did the previous one. And I thought, how much higher has this gotten from 883? So if it was 883 from May, I mean, I thought maybe there'd be 10 more, 15 more maximum. But as you can see, if you look here, I'm going to highlight it. There have been, in the last, and this is from yesterday, so in 6 days, it went up to 933. That's 50 more people died connected to these vaccines in 6 days. That's more than 5% increase in 6 days.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on this. 5% increase in 6 days.
I think at least this kind of number should be open to discuss. At least the news or the doctor should talk about this number, because it's not a small number. Although they think it may not cause from the COVID, but it's still not a small number.
And it's definitely linked, right?
I think people have to know this number.
Sure. As we said last week, we did not want to be talking about this. Like, I didn't want to talk about this. I thought about what are we going to talk about with Steve? And then I saw this, and now we have to talk about this, because to me, that trend is very worrying. 5% in 6 days. Like, that's faster. If we did 883 in, what is it, May to now, 6 months, and we did 5% increase in 6 days, if that is a trend, that's extremely worrying to me. And, you know, we talked about this last week. We said, like, what are the ages of these people? So you've shown me a few. I mean, there were like 6 people who died yesterday, right? And some of them were old, but some of them were young.
Yeah.
And my fiance sent me some news about a 15-year-old girl who died in PE class, like 3 weeks after having the vaccine. So we're not saying that we 100% think that we know it's from the vaccine, but nobody could ever know that. But I've never heard of 15-year-old girls dying in school.
Okay, you mean the differences of the death from COVID and vaccine is now we observe some younger people.
Yeah, it's like, as we said, like COVID, we know is more hurting, like killing old people.
Yeah.
But the vaccine, a 15-year-old girl, I saw she died. I saw a 17-year-old girl have a heart attack. We talked about it last week. An 18-year-old girl, a 24-year-old engineer. I don't know. This really, really worries me, you know. Steve, what do you think when you hear these numbers?
I don't really worry about that.
Okay, interesting. Explain why.
Because from a statistic perspective, the matrix is still small. So 5% is, it's not a big deal.
Okay, even in 6 days though, if you're looking at a trend.
Because if you see the trend, only 6 days increase 5%. Maybe next 60 days,
It won't
0%.
increase much, yeah.
Yeah. So because we're discussing about the small metrics, so maybe we need time to check to chase. But
You mean because like more people to have vaccine, but not same amount of people get COVID.
Sure.
So
But now, I mean, for me, because you're talking about like having time, right? So I said this last week in the video, like I've been watching this for 6 or 8 weeks now, and watching the numbers from the vaccine deaths slowly climb and then meet and now exceed the deaths from the virus. So this is one thing. Then what is the plan that you guys have heard about from the government? Because we talked about this last week, right? We said that the government is saying that if we get 70% first dose, they're going to remove the masks. And then this morning I saw that they said if you have 30% fully vaccinated, so 2 doses, they're actually going to release some of the quarantine restrictions. So is this a smart move? What do you guys think? You think that's a good idea?
I think that gave them fundamental reasons or fundamental like an idea, a law for them to release the restriction.
Okay.
Because they want to help the economy, they want to help people to go back to normal life. But how do they adjust, analysis, or how do they decide this to make those decisions? They need something for them to follow,
You like
right?
a number or something.
They need some data. So I think the dose percentage is suitable number for them to make those decisions.
Okay. And Steve, what do you think? I mean, do you think that the government should be looking at what's happening in other countries?
no idea.
We should make a car like you can raise the.
No, I like
car.
it. He's giving us advertising for the channel, right? Every time says no idea, but really, I mean, in all honesty, do you guys agree with this plan? And should we be looking at what's happening in other countries?
I have to say the only number or the only data we can get is the vaccinated rate and the numbers. So do we have any numbers to measure? No.
Well, what if we look at other countries? So last week on our video, and I've now fact-checked it, Abby, which is that place in Ireland.
Aaron, okay.
Yeah, so do you remember what that place was called in Ireland? Hold on, I'll find it. Give me a quick sec here. So the place is called Waterford. And they had like 99.7% vaccinated in September 23rd, and then October 11th, now the highest levels of COVID in Ireland. So that's one example, right? So should the government be taking that type of a number into account?
Like you mean even those countries like Israel or Waterford, and some countries some place in America, they all have a higher dose percentage, but they still increase the COVID cases.
Yeah, and not just
So-
increase. A lot of them are at like their highest.
Yeah, highest more than before. So
should we take this into account?
So if they think the dose percentage means we are safe, or we can get lower cases of COVID cases, it may not link like 100% because we already have some reference from other countries. But maybe even the cases are higher, but the symptom will be lower.
Okay, so let me show you guys some data. Okay, so I want to show you a few countries. Okay, so the first one is going to be Vietnam. So let me see. Okay, so this is Vietnam vaccinations, right? So I mean, Abby, what do you see here? If the way I look at it, they started the vaccinations kind of early May. You agree with that? Over here.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
look,
yeah,
it
yeah.
started in
Yeah,
early
start-
May, and now it's got going. But I don't think that they have a very large percentage of their population that's vaccinated. Let me see. I made this smaller. Yes, the fully vaccinated is low. Okay, so we'll have to come back to that, but we'll see the actual number. Then let's have a look at Vietnam as far as their cases go. This is Vietnam's cases of the virus using Google. So the whole time from last year all the way till May this year, they hardly seem to have any cases.
Mm-hmm.
And in May and then into June, the cases spike up. Now, I'm not making a statement at all, but all I'm seeing is that the first time these people had their cases go up was in June. And then I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, what else happened at the similar time? Sorry, no, that's South Africa. Let's find this one. See, May and June is when they started vaccinating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I understand why. I'm not a scientist, right? Let's have a look at a different one. My country, South Africa. Okay, so South Africa seemed to have 3 waves, and the cases now are really, really much lower. But let's look at the second wave, okay? Because we want to know when South Africa started doing the vaccinations. Oops. Yeah, my computer's doing something funny. All right, so let's look at South Africa's vaccinations. I think this is it here. So when did South Africa start vaccinating? Around April, May.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's when they started, April, May, right? So at the end of February, we'd already dropped. We dealt with the second wave before we started vaccinating. How did South Africa's numbers drop before they started vaccinating? You can say that the vaccinations helped them to make it drop. But then we said in April, May, they started vaccinating, and directly after that, look, the cases go up again.
Mm.
And again, I'm not saying that this is causation, but now that's 2 countries that seems very interesting. 2 countries plus Waterford in Ireland. We've seen that one as well. So if I were the government, which I'm not, I'd be looking at these numbers and I'd be saying, I've seen a few places where they start vaccinating or the vaccinations get to a very high number and then cases go up really, really high. Should they take this into consideration? Steve? Abby? Should they?
I have to
right.
say that I don't think Taiwanese government is a pioneer. It's just a follower.
Okay.
So I don't think Taiwanese government is unknown about the data.
You mean
They
so you think they know?
know
They
it,
know
right?
very well.
Okay.
But they still did
Mm.
what they believe.
Okay, so so what you're saying is, even though there is data that shows this might not be a good idea, they're still doing it.
Yep. Unless.
Okay,
you know,
no, look, I mean, if you say that, I'm 100% agreement with you from what I've seen. That makes a lot of sense. So let's get on to my next question. My next question is, from your knowledge of your own country, imagine we got to 100% double vaccinations. Every single person had the vaccinations, right? And then COVID got into Taiwan and it started spreading rapidly. Or just started spreading. Would we lock down again?
I think it might be, or
Right.
raise the restriction level. Maybe
Okay.
go back to level 3
So
again,
we would definitely do this again, right?
or boost more vaccine.
Or boost more vaccines. So combine these different pieces of information together. We know that the people would put pressure on the government and then the government would put the restrictions back. We've also, as Stephen, you said, they must know this information, that it's highly possible that the cases could skyrocket after people have had the vaccines and then they lower the restrictions.
Yeah, because as you see the web page of from the CDC, yeah, you can learn the message that they CDC said you still have risk to get virus.
You can still get the virus.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
And in talking about that, let's just segue into that. So how many people in Taiwan do you think know that? Because you sent that document to me. It's like hidden away in some website. Because I have a maid who cleans my house once a month, just for 4 hours, okay? And this week, or last week, I got a message from her. It was a group message that she'd sent to, she's a very busy woman, right? She's fantastic. She sent a message to everybody that she works for, and it had a picture of her vaccine certificate. So she's sharing her private medical information with everybody. Why? Because to her, she's saying to them, look, I've had the vaccination. If I come to your house, you're safe. Agreed?
She wants to prove she is safe.
And that's not true. So she obviously doesn't know what you just said the government said. And I've met so many people who also don't know that information.
Yeah.
So when you elect leaders, when you elect the CDC, are you electing these people to follow what people who have no information think? Or are they the ones who are supposed to be leading? Because surely, if you work for the CDC, you can see all this information. And if you can see all this information, you should be saying to the people, look, you don't really get this. We'll try and explain it to you. But we are the ones with the info, so we're making informed decisions. Not, as you said, Stephen, following decisions.
Do you think most people, are interested in studying the data?
No.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be. That's why they elect leaders. Leaders should look at the information and make informed decisions.
Yeah, even though the government say that the data, do you think our Taiwanese people are interested in studying the data?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But they don't need to be, because that's why you elect leaders. Leaders are there to make decisions. Even if you don't understand them, they're making the best informed decisions that they can make based on the information.
I think that's the leader make the decision right now. Just like want to follow all the countries.
Sure, but then
follow the Europe and America do what they do, because it's much safer.
Safer. Explain that. Safer for who?
Safe for themselves, because
but that's exactly. I agree with you.
That's a political decision, because if they follow those big countries, if there's something problem happens, they can say, but look at other America, look at the European, they all do this. There's not only just about Taiwan. So you can blame us and make wrong decisions.
Okay, and I can agree with that, but my question is, for people who live here, are you okay with this?
Of course, we want the government to make the better decision.
So the answer is no.
The answer is no, but there's a guess. I guess that's why they make those decisions.
Yeah, because you see, this is the thing that I want to know, right? Is that now they're giving people vaccines, and as we've just shown, the vaccines are not perfect because some people are getting hurt. Let's say it's 933. Maybe it's a little bit less because some of those might not be included. Okay, I can accept that. But as we've seen, young people, old people, there are people dying from these vaccines, right? So we're taking a risk. Can we agree that the vaccines are a bit of a risk? I think we can agree with that, right? So we're taking a risk and some people are dying. But on top of that, we're saying, listen, if you guys want your lives back so that you don't have to wear a mask or you can travel again, which I'm doubtful will really happen, everyone's got to get vaccinated. 70%, 1 dose, 30%, 2 doses. Then take people like the woman who cleans my house. She doesn't know. So she believes she's got some protection. And the people that she's working for believe that there's some protection. So if this thing starts spreading, will she take precautions or will she actually spread it more? Possibly she'll spread it more. And what if it really gets going here, like has happened in Waterford? What happens if we start getting thousands of cases and then you come and you tell me that no, they were just covering their ass or they were following, as you guys just said?
Okay, so
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to swear today and not to get upset, but I'm getting upset, but I'm not swearing. But what is this?
Yeah, but think about if they tell people that even you get vaccine and it has side effects, but it still not protect people from COVID. So
what would happen? I agree.
What happened? What will
tell me? I want to know.
Yeah. I think what will people want to do, right?
And this gets us to this question of, sometimes
like hopeless. Then we
Yeah.
tell people like, hey, so should we lock down again? But the economic will fail.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Let me show you one more thing. Steve, I showed this to you, I think, yesterday. Let's look at Taiwan. Taiwan had very low cases, right? For the majority of this pandemic. In the beginning, we kept it out without vaccines. Then we had a big jump because they made a fuck up. There we go. I got it. They made a mistake at the airport and it got going. But look how quickly we managed to control it. Now, when was that? That's May. It started just at the beginning of May. So let's look. I think I've got Taiwan's vaccinations here. Yeah, here's Taiwan's vaccinations. We only started vaccinating in May. But if you look at this, you can see that we managed to control this thing without vaccines. So you're telling me that you got to look at history. We did it once. Then we had a problem. We did it again, both without vaccines, without killing people needlessly. Why won't we be able to do that again?
That means like you mean the numbers drops not because of the vaccine.
Yeah.
Probably because
people here listen, right? It's a part of the culture. It's a small country, which I think helps. Plus, people listened. Everyone I know did what they could do. It's different to like in other countries where it wasn't that easy to control people. Here, people said, sure, no problem. Probably because they had SARS 1. But the point is, we have 2 successes. Why wouldn't we have a third? Why not? Because we seem to be able to control this thing. So why go down this route? And then, it's like, Steve, I said it to you, Taiwan seems to be a victim of its own success. Because my question is, now that we've got it under control, at the same time as we've got it under control, the vaccines are going up. How many people believe that the reason we don't have cases is because of the vaccines? A lot. And that's not true, according to what I can see here.
Yeah.
And then later, people are going to get calm. They're going to take more risks. And hopefully it doesn't happen. But if it starts spreading again, and we get what we see in other countries, then what? I want answers to these questions. I'm sorry. I want to know what's going on because I might not have the information, but why is someone not explaining this to me? Because as you can see, it doesn't make sense. Sorry, I'm getting upset.
But
Yeah.
I remember a CDC commander said many times, wearing mask is essential.
Okay.
Instead of just have a vaccine. He told this matter many times. So and the other thing is Taiwanese government is I think it did well because government didn't force people to have vaccine. No, it just encourage and let the vaccine for free, right? So
Yeah, but is that true? Sorry, I want to interrupt. Is that really true? Because I saw a guy in the news the other day saying that we should only loosen the restrictions when there's 90% first dose vaccination. So then you tell me something. If we only get to 70% and then it kind of stalls, will then people start putting pressure on others to get that vaccine to get to that 90%? And I think it's true. And then even though it's not a rule, there'll still be societal pressure to people to do something they might not want to do.
So it's from social, you just mentioned that the social pressure, not from the CDC government, right?
Yeah, but what does it mean though in that way, right? Just so I don't mind where it comes from. If there's pressure, there's pressure. If someone's getting a vaccine that didn't want to get a vaccine, I don't care if it's social or from a company or from the government. No one should feel pressure to do a medical procedure, according to me. That's between you and your doctor based on your unique situation. I will never tell someone not to get a vaccine or get a vaccine. Talk to your doctor, do what's right for you, and no one has the right to pressure you. Can I tell you to lose weight? I don't think so. Can I tell you how often to sleep with somebody? I don't think so. It's not my place, and no one's place to tell you that.
But I always feel pressure from others. So
Sure, but I mean, pressure from people is one thing, but when does it cross the line? Because surely, from what I understand, you have medical privacy rights. I'm amazed that everybody keeps telling everyone they've had the vaccine or haven't, or this is their condition. I do it too. We're not sharing our medical information with everybody.
yeah, but I think the government try to stop the discrimination.
How?
How? Just like because we allow students to have vaccine, right? So if there is any discrimination. Just like if you have no vaccine, you cannot join the class or something else. The government was stopped it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But my question to you there would be, what happens? That's because right now we don't have a lot of cases. But what happens if, as you've seen in other countries, what if cases start to rise? Do you think that will continue?
Just like AB said, we will, just have a higher level, have more restriction. So that's the only action government will do.
You don't think that they'll mandate the vaccine here?
Mandate vaccine.
If the school start to ask if the cases goes up, will the school tell their teacher to get vaccine, or will they encourage those children to get vaccine because it will prevent the spread from the families?
But it doesn't prevent the spread.
But but this is what I believe. I mean,
Sure.
what if I just worry about what if the cases goes up, and now the school start more strong mandate or strong encouragement, or the office tell the people if you don't get vaccine, you better not come into office.
Sure, and they're basing that on faulty information, as we said, like the woman who cleans my house. They don't know that you can still get it. So this is my question. It's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
I'm worried about that.
And do you know how many people have come into my office and have told me stories where they said, I was going to go visit a client, and the client said, sorry, you can't come into my building because you're not vaccinated in Taiwan. Is already happening. Look at other countries. A year ago, like we said, conspiracy theory becomes fact. A year ago, they were saying, oh, we'll never make a vaccine mandate. Now look how many places are doing it.
Or they will make your life inconvenience. If you don't want to take vaccine, it's okay, but you need to take the test. The home test, you mean?
Yeah, well, they started that, but then later on it becomes now you got to pay for your own proper test.
Yeah.
So the people that have told me this, the one woman said to me that the client said, they said you can also have a test within 2 days. She said, yeah, but the test is like $7,000. Can I use the test? They said, you've got to come to our office and do that test in front of us. And even those tests, are they that accurate? So where does that go to?
Yeah.
This is what worries me, right? And the thing is, it's what worries me, but it won't stop the spread. That whole thing that worries me is all based on faulty information that people don't know. So how about a different solution? How about a real leader? Someone who gets on the TV and with a group of scientists and says, listen, as far as we understand, these are the true facts. This is not a perfect situation. It's changing. This is our plan. You elected us. This is what we're doing. It might not be popular with everybody. We might even make a mistake, but we're operating under the information we have, and we're making what seems to be the best possible choice for this country. How about that? How about a leader who would stand up and do that? And you know what? And if at the end of the day we lose power, we lose power. But we were doing what you elected us for. We were doing the job that you guys gave us. How about that?
Have you met this kind of leader in
These
world?
days, I think that the world has very few real
Very
leaders.
few, right?
But
Yeah.
whether or not we have very few leaders, I don't care. I want a good, strong leader.
Right?
Yeah,
And
I
you know what?
think-
Unless we talk about this, unless I talk to you and you talk to your friends and we all talk to our friends, we will never get these leaders if we keep allowing people to do what you guys just told me today, that we're just following. That's disgusting. Sorry.
Okay, just like if people don't fight, then we will not filter the strong leader,
Exactly.
right? Because people will allow the leader, just subtle, just like just normal leader do the same thing, because people are okay with that. So they will not like increase their strong, or they will not. I think a strong leader comes from the chaos,
Sure.
the maybe the wars, or maybe some.
Sure.
But
How about we use the analogy of a shepherd? Do you guys know this word, shepherd? The guy who looks after sheep, right?
Okay.
A shepherd is the leader of the sheep. Sheep Sorry to all the sheep, not smart animals. You know, sheep, I've heard, will follow each other off a cliff if they feel scared. So what is the job of the shepherd? The job of the shepherd is to guide those sheep because he knows the sheep don't have higher brain function and can't look after themselves and do what they need to do. How about that as a leader? Because you know that the majority of your people are too busy working to research. They don't know. So it's your job to guide them. Now, I'm just looking at information I can see online. Maybe there's something I don't know. Sure. But they're not explaining it to me. They're not explaining it to everyone. There are real questions. So where are the leaders? And unless we put pressure on these people, they're never going to change. They're never going to do the right thing. They're always going to make decisions, as you guys said, to stay in power. And I don't care about them staying in power. They don't care about me keeping my job, so I don't care about them keeping their jobs. People elected them to do a job. They should do it.
Yeah, otherwise, just let the people's voice getting louder. Get people's voice louder. So they won't able to neglect. They have to face it and have to deal with it.
Yeah,
I think it's a more possible way.
Yeah, and when I've mentioned this to other people, they say, "Oh, but could Taiwan go against the world? You know, make a different decision to America, whatever." I was like, "Of course, of course. We're a unique country where everybody is different, right? Just look at the graph in front of us here. Look at what a good job we did.
Oh, that's
Right?
interesting.
We did a good job, and why couldn't we do it again?" And you know what the thing is? Imagine there was some way you could test this. Imagine if COVID got going again and we were able to stop it again and again and again, and we have this ability. Then those 800 or 900 people didn't need to die.
But I have to say, we will not do it again
Why not?
because of vaccine.
What do you mean? Explain.
Yeah, because at that time in May,
Yeah.
we had no vaccine. So people are nervous and people wear masks. But right now, a lot of people already got vaccine. So that's why we will not do it again, because people don't have the fear.
So you just said that by doing these vaccines, we're guaranteeing that if we had another emergency, we wouldn't be successful.
I guess.
You know what, Stephen? You don't want to know my response? No idea. Sure. That's really sad. If that's the truth, that we have the ability to keep it out if we wanted to, but because of this vaccine thing, we wouldn't be able to. That's one of the saddest things I've ever heard.
But I think people will get the numbers and get the fact after the the rate is over maybe 80%, and government will tell us the truth.
Sure, but what happens? But that's not my worry. My worry is, let's look at Singapore. I was just reading an article this morning showing how Singapore's cases have gone up. I mean, how many cases a day is Singapore having now? Do you guys know?
No idea.
No, there we go again. No idea, right? So let's just try. Let's see. Singapore COVID, right? Let's have a look. I mean, their cases are higher than they've ever been. 3,600 cases a day. The maximum we ever had was around 700. I would like to know, as Taiwanese people, if you guys could tell me an answer. If we had 3,600 cases a day, how would people here feel? Because people were losing their minds at 600-700.
Or just numb.
Yeah.
Because it's too much, you will feel numb.
Yeah, and that's why I say we're a victim of our own success, because we kept it out for so long. So I don't think too many people have the natural immunity. So because of that, are we ever going to be able to open up properly? Are we ever going to be able to, Stephen, as you asked me, like reduce the restrictions, the quarantine restrictions coming into Taiwan? I can't go anywhere because I've got 2 weeks quarantine when I get back. All that needs to happen is this thing starts spreading again, and it's probably going to go just like Singapore. So when people say to me, I don't want the vaccine, and I've heard this from so many people, they say, I don't want the vaccine, but I want to travel and not have quarantine. Do you think that's ever going to happen? I don't. It's a dream that you're going to have the vaccine and you're going to be able to travel. And talking about that, have you guys seen the UK?
I don't see it recently.
So the UK has got apparently like COVID, what is it? Delta Plus now, which
Okay.
seems to me,
Delta
in my
Plus.
humble opinion, to be a little bit of some bullshit. But their cases, and you can see them here, are also really, really high. They've got 48,000 cases a day now. But what have they been doing recently? So I told you the story. My sister's daughter is in America with my brother right now. And she needs to go back to England because her father's from England. And she's going to have the vaccine because she said this a few weeks ago. She was going to have the vaccine because then she could go to England and not have quarantine. So they've been saying to people, if you have the vaccine, you can travel and you don't need quarantine. And now look. Is that really from Delta Plus? Or is that just because if you're vaccinated, you can still spread it. You're allowing people into your country who are still spreading it. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So then are we ever going to be able to loosen the quarantine restrictions, in your opinion? What do you guys think?
I think most people are aware of that vaccine couldn't stop spreading.
Really? Well, the woman who cleans my house knows,
Okay.
and a lot of other people know.
But they would believe like getting vaccine will lower symptom, just like a flu.
Yeah, but talking
So-
about that then, have you seen all the new figures coming out of the UK? I think 70 to 80% of the people dying are double vaccinated.
Okay, I know, but I mean, just according to those people's around me, I think their beliefs right now is like, yeah, it will get spread. So it's very reasonable to see the UK's number, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's like flu.
So people are calling for them to have the lockdowns and restrictions again. Should we have a bet? I would definitely put my money on the fact that they're going to increase the restrictions soon.
I won't.
Right, because this is the same thing that happens. This is like the mouse on the wheel. This thing never stops. Russia now has restrictions again. Right?
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
don't know. Okay.
Russia's I think locked down for a week now.
Okay.
But South Africa, with very, very low vaccination rate, so let's check it, right? So South Africa vaccination rate, let's see. So South Africa's vaccination rate is 18.6% fully vaccinated. It's very low. But as I showed you in that other graph, the cases in South Africa are now, look at them, right down. How did South Africa get down from that huge number to now 591 a day with only 20% vaccinated?
Okay, how? I don't know.
Well, I'm asking.
Restriction?
But then
Not because of vaccine.
But then
Absolute-
Singapore,
absolute.
so we were just looking at Singapore, right? Let's go back to Singapore. Singapore's cases are an all-time high. Let's have a look at Singapore's vaccination rate. They're 82.5%. So 82.5% cases at all-time high. What was South Africa? 20%, 18.6% cases at a real low. And Stephen said the government knows this.
Yeah, but my question is, can we say that that the country have a higher vaccinated rate caused higher new cases?
No, we can't.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that,
Yeah.
but we're looking at multiple examples of the same thing happening.
Yeah, so which means that maybe, I'm not sure, maybe vaccine does work. I'm not sure.
For which thing?
You have the protection for,
Symptoms spreading
Yeah,
or
I'm not
transmitting?
I'm not
or
sure,
getting?
but maybe they have can protect something. I'm not sure, but not 100%. Right?
Okay.
So because of that, government will encourage people to have vaccine because they still have protection, and maybe they can stop some spreading, maybe.
Okay.
So because of that, government encourage people to have vaccine.
Okay, so can I address that? You said maybe it will help stop the spreading.
Yep.
All the examples that I just showed you show that that didn't happen. If Singapore is 82.6% or whatever it was vaccinated, and now their cases are higher than they've ever been, that doesn't make sense. Plus, I've also read that there are more deaths from COVID right now than a year ago worldwide.
Oh,
More cases now than a year ago. A year ago, how many people were vaccinated compared to now? You explain that one to me.
I think it's complicated because we cannot say that vaccines speed up the transmission.
And I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying purely the numbers are different. So if these vaccines really worked, I would guess that we'd have less cases and less death now. But the opposite has happened.
So the only thing we can prove is
We can't. I don't think we can prove anything. It's too
Yeah.
complicated. But we can look at it and say, "Hey, is this working?"
I think the only thing we can prove it is vaccine is not 100% protection.
No idea.
yeah. It can show that even you take lots of vaccine, you still can stop the spread.
Okay, but
That's the one thing we can make sure.
but let's change this, right? So let's say we look at this time last year, how many deaths? We look at this time this year, how many deaths? If we have more deaths this year than last year, are we on the right track or the wrong track with defeating this virus?
Because
answer.
because of more virus.
Yeah,
So
but are
more
we?
death.
Yeah, but are we doing it?
A different virus,
So,
right?
but are we on the
Understand?
right track or the wrong track?
This is something we need to
And
figure
then,
out, and we need to.
sure, but then, and if we possibly are not on the right track, should they mandate anything? Because these people, with all their mandates, it's been how many years now? With all their mandates, we're not getting better. Why should I trust them? And then, why should I trust them goes back to my other question, which is, what if this thing starts spreading in Taiwan again? What are we going to do? So, are you going to be able to travel if you've had the vaccine? Your opinions. We don't know, just opinions. What do you think, Stephen? Are we going to be able to travel if you get the vaccine? And quarantine. Will quarantine be lifted?
Without quarantine,
Your opinion.
a good idea.
I know, but come on.
Maybe in Taiwan or in other countries.
Come on, I want an answer. I don't want to know idea. I want to know your opinion. Like, if you have the vaccine, do you think you'll be able to travel without quarantine if you live in Taiwan? Just an opinion.
Opinion.
Yeah.
It depends on when.
Okay, you put the time. 6 months. Let's say 6 months. How about that?
6 months
Or this year.
this year. Okay. If I had if I had vaccines and I could travel free,
And come back without quarantine, yeah.
come back without quarantine,
Yes or no? Your opinion.
good, great.
No. Will it happen? Do you think, looking in the future, for you, do you think it will happen?
More cases.
No. If you have the vaccine, that you'll be able to travel without quarantine when you come back. Just yes or no?
No problem. Okay.
Yeah. So you think it will happen?
Where it happen?
Yeah.
If the if the other countries allowed it, it will happen.
Well, obviously. But my question is, do you predict that this will or won't happen? It's a yes or no. We're just getting opinion. We'll all do it. Okay, I'll go first. I will say it. It's on camera. You could check me later. I think that it doesn't matter whether you have the vaccination or not. I don't think they're going to be able to release the quarantine restrictions because as I said, we're a victim of our own success. As soon as it gets going, you guys both said to me, if it starts spreading, even if we have 100% vaccination, you guys said to me that people will freak out and they want to put restrictions. So going with that, I do not believe that will happen. Just opinion.
Okay.
What about you?
Okay, I think they will now loosen the restriction. You still need quarantine because look at the pilot. All the pilots have vaccine, like double doses or even more,
Yep.
but they still had to quarantine right now. So I think it's hard for the government to loosen the restriction.
Steve?
It will happen.
So you're the opposite of us. All right. Okay. And
Yeah,
what's your reasoning?
Yeah,
Why do you think it'll
yeah,
happen?
if all other countries open this restriction,
Oh, follow other countries, right?
Yeah.
I see. Okay. So then can I ask you a follow-up? Is that if all countries open the restrictions and let people travel with quarantine, how long do you think that lasts before the restrictions come back?
soon.
So basically, Steve's got like a pause in the middle and then come back. Okay, sure.
If once they loosen the restriction, we need to go out immediately.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So basically, I've heard so many people say to me that do not want the vaccine, but they're doing it because they want to travel. Are they right? Is that smart? Just opinion? I don't think so.
It's a incentive for me.
It's an incentive, but I think it's an empty promise.
Yeah, it's attractive, but I don't know. Wait and see.
Wait and see.
Yeah, wait and see.
All right. Well, at least we didn't. There was not too much swearing today, right? I managed to keep
You-
control a little
You
bit.
try to
I tried really hard, man.
try really hard.
I mean, it's funny, right?
you want to swear, right?
Man, you know what the thing is, right? It's like I have a lot of family members who've been vaccinated.
Yeah.
You know, there's skin in the game here. Like, I just want them, you, me, everybody, people in Taiwan. I want us all to be okay, right? And when you tell me that the government is just following others and things, and all the rest of the things we talked about, I don't feel confident. And as someone who truly does read a lot, I really don't feel confident with this. And that's a crappy feeling.
Yeah.
You know, as I said to you last week, I do not want to talk about this. I wish we could be talking about cheese or wine or things that I really enjoy. But instead, we're stuck here talking about vaccines and needles and sicknesses and death. And yeah, you know, great Saturday afternoon conversation.
But it's like necessary to talk about it. At least we need to focus the big thing in our life, just not to let our responsibility to others. Just follow some authority, but don't really care about what it did to me, to us, right?
Yeah, I just, you know, when every day, like you've been sharing those messages with me about 15-year-old kid dying, 17-year-old kid, all that. I think about those families, you know, and then I hear about them wanting to vaccinate young kids, and you know, I worry about people like Steve and their kids, and what happens if they feel pressure to have this vaccine and something doesn't go well. And I know that we were able to keep this thing out. I was here, I've experienced it, and I worry about needless deaths. You know, there are people attached. Those are news stories, but there are people attached to those stories. There are people who are suffering. There are people who are looking at the situation. And let's say that girl, the 15-year-old kid who died, let's say that her mom is like that woman who cleans my house, who didn't know. And she might be sitting there saying, fuck, I wish I had known. If I had known, I might have made a different choice. And my heart breaks for that woman's mother, that girl's mother. You know, and the rest of their family. They must be going through absolute hell. And in that moment, I'm thinking, where are the leaders? And then you guys tell me about this following thing, and I don't know what to do. Because that could easily be your family, or my family, or your family. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's so sad.
Yeah, it's. Anyway, I think we probably a good place to end it there. So,
Yeah,
bit of a sad
okay.
note, but overall, on a personal note, I think, you know, this is a bit of a milestone for us. Like, if people could see what my office/studio looks like now, it's full of equipment and lights, and it took us a long time to get here. So, yeah, really, really happy, Abby. It's been a journey. For me, Steve, thank you so much
Yes.
for coming and joining us, for
Thank
being
you.
the first guest. And
Yeah. Thank you for your invitation.
yeah, and
Yeah.
thank you. I've really always enjoyed chatting with you. You know, I think you've always been able to give me an interesting perspective.
Yeah,
So.
I hope this is not my last time.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Really welcome.
Yeah, I want to hear some more, right? And you can tell us all about all the no idea ideas you have. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. So, yeah, I don't really use social media, so I'm not going to try and shout out myself and where you can reach me because you probably can't. But I don't know. Do you use social media? Do you want people to like? Can people find you anywhere, or you, Steve, or not interested?
Not interested.
Not interested. Ah, good. And you, Steve?
Now,
Yeah, that's also a good one. Right? So just to tell people, like, I have never been happier than getting off social media. Like, it's been 3 years now, and yeah, happy about that. So don't miss scrolling through that feed at
It's
all.
really different
So,
from other YouTube.
yeah.
Other YouTube is busy and putting their Instagram, Facebook
Yeah.
account.
So if you want to get hold of us, too bad. You know, you could possibly leave a comment, and if we see it, we might get back to you. But otherwise, we're just some people sharing ideas, having a chat, and hopefully people like it. But yeah, please, as we said last week, do your own research. Be skeptical. Don't believe people. Don't believe us. Do your own research. Check. And maybe if we all take a bit of responsibility, we can see some progress.
Yeah.
Any messages from you guys before we end?
Okay.
Sorry, I put you on the spot there.
I'm really concentrating on what you are talking. So, yes, I believe like I think people should focus on their lives and think about it, make your own decision. Just when you see a news, be critical, be doubtful, and try to find more data or more information to help you make the decisions.
All right. And final thought from you, Steve? Don't say no idea.
yeah, I think most people don't feel confident
Yeah.
about government's decision at
Sure.
that time.
Mm.
And so please do yourself. Please do your research and trust yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm.
Education, information, and trust.
Yep.
Okay, I like it. All right. Well, so from all of us here, thank you for watching. And yeah, from the Mei Shangfa channel, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.